Tom and I first met through mutual friends, lived together, and we hung out at their house a lot, especially with my friend and roommate from college as well. Before meeting Tom, I don't know that I had particular stereotypes of people with disabilities or people in wheelchairs, but after we first met, it was evident that how many people do have stereotypes of people in a wheelchair. Mainly the stereotype that they can't do normal things that able-bodied people can do. Maybe after being friendly with him for a couple months, you start to create your own stereotypes, especially since we weren't too close. And I would say some stereotypes were that he, like most people, he couldn't do things that most able-bodied people could do. He was going to have a harder time in life. He couldn't do normal things like driving or running errands on his own. He depended on other people a lot. But after getting to know him for a longer period of time, it was evident that he was more independent than most independent people that I know. Honestly, my parents were not too keen on the idea of me dating someone in a wheelchair. My dad was sort of, you kind of do what you want to do and we'll see how it plays out. My mom did not like the idea. Her main thing was that me being a nurse, she said that I'm going to be taking care of people my whole life, and why would I want to take care of somebody at home? So going from a nursing job to going home and being a nurse to someone disabled, that was her perspective. A lot of my friends at the time, they didn't really have too many opinions on the idea, at least that they told me. But a lot of my friends from college knew Tom and were friendly with Tom as well. So they knew how able he actually was and how good of a person he was to be around. At times when we were out in public, it did make me feel kind of better to be seen with someone in a wheelchair, because people looked upon me as like, oh, you're doing such a nice thing for him. But then after realizing what people really thought, like that's what their idea was. Oh, you're so nice for dating someone in a wheelchair, or you're doing such a good thing to be giving someone disabled that love or compassion that you would for a normal person. A lot of people even ask me, like, I never had dated anyone before. Tom was my first boyfriend, and a lot of people said, don't you think you would want to know what it's like to date an able-bodied person before you date someone disabled? But because Tom was so, in my mind, able-bodied and independent, I didn't need to know that feeling of dating someone able-bodied, or as people would say, normal. Ever since beginning dating, I did think about how long would this relationship last, and if this relationship lasts long enough to get married or have a child or buy a house, how would I feel about that? Also, I always would think about his medical issues. If he would have medical issues, how long of a life would he actually live that I would be able to live my life independently and not have to, as people would say, nurse him or take care of him. That was usually my biggest worry, as to how long would I be able to live with him as a lifelong partner, or would he become more disabled a lot quicker and not be around as long as someone who was able-bodied. Would Tom be able to have children? That's something that was a life goal of mine, and that I've always wanted to be a mother. Whether it be biologically or not, because Tom was adopted, adoption was always in my mind, but every woman usually wants to have their own biological child. So it always ran through my mind, but because of Tom's compassion and love and his independence, it never really was something that deterred me from continuing our relationship. At first, when we were first dating, interacting with a wheelchair was kind of difficult because I didn't know, should I get close to him? Should I stay away? Will he run over me? How well of control does he have of his chair? But as I got to know him, it was a lot easier and evident to see that he didn't care what people did to his chair. He didn't care if people got in his way. He maneuvered himself around any obstacles on his own. And really, he didn't want any help with his wheelchair. I mean, even going out in public when people try to help him by opening doors or pushing him up ramps, it was interesting to see, especially when we first started dating, that he didn't really like that. And most disabled people don't want the help unless they ask for it. So that was something that came to light that most people don't realize, is that disabled people are, like I said, more independent than most independent people, and unless they ask for help, don't offer it. I don't know if there was one moment that I knew I wanted to marry Tom. I think him and I dated for 5 years before we got engaged, and I think seeing him interact with my family, because we did live with my parents for about a year, and seeing that my family eventually came around and realized how great of a person he was, I think that's when I realized, like, okay, I'm comfortable saying that I want to marry him now. Because before then, you know, if your family's not, if your family isn't in line with you marrying a certain person or dating a certain person, that's always in the back of your mind. And I'm such a family-oriented person that if he wasn't going to fit in, I don't know that it would have been the best of ideas to continue our relationship into marriage. We got married last September 2015. This year, in April of 2016, we bought a house. And then we have a baby on the way in December of this year, 2016. So right now our future is focused on our little one that's coming in December. We've talked about having more children, and I think at this point we need to see how we both adapt to taking care of one child. And I've always said to Tom, I think it would be best if we waited until at least 3 or 4 years, so we didn't have 2 in diapers, and our oldest child would be a little bit independent in helping out Dad with getting around the house or getting in the car or listening while there was another child. So right now that's our future, and I think that's far enough for us.